Close your eyes for a moment and silence the world around you. Take a deep breath and notice there is a space within you, perhaps dormant, perhaps forgotten, where sound is not just vibration, but a calling, a silent invitation to reconnect with what you have always sought. Yes, perhaps you have already felt it, a burning desire to transform your reality, to attract abundance, to manifest success. But at the same time, there is a weariness, a repeated cycle of frustration and hope, as if every attempt to prosper is swallowed by an invisible force, a blockage that you cannot name but can feel. Maybe deep down, you have already asked yourself, why does it seem so difficult to manifest what I desire? Why, despite all the effort, does abundance still not arrive? And that question echoes silently night after night, creating an almost imperceptible, yet real, internal noise. This noise is not just mental, it vibrates within your cells, rooted in ancient beliefs often inherited, that whisper insistently, you don't deserve it, you are not enough. This is the silent pain that few recognize, the hidden cycle between deeply wanting and at the same time unconsciously repelling, not for a lack of true worthiness, but due to invisible vibrational blockages that operate beyond what the conscious mind can perceive. But listen, your desire goes far beyond money. What you truly seek is security. It is freedom. It is to feel worthy and whole. You want the serenity to breathe without fear, to walk lightly without the constant anguish that something is missing. Money is merely a symbol, an external reflection of a much deeper internal need, the need for belonging, for fulfillment, for the recognition of your own value. And yet there is something that few say, but that perhaps you have already intuited. It's not about doing more, it's not about working harder, nor about endlessly chasing after things. It is about silencing the internal noise. It is about realigning your most intimate vibration, and it is here that science and spirituality meet with surprising clarity. Bruce Lipton, through his research on epigenetics, shows us that we are not prisoners of our genetics, that our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs directly modulate the expression of our genes. Your biology listens to your vibration. Your cells respond to your emotional state. When you live immersed in fear, scarcity, and unworthiness, your vibrational field contracts, and you repel what you most want to attract. But there is a key, a real possibility for reprogramming, not through force, but through frequency. And among all frequencies, there is one in particular that is not just sound, but a portal, 432 Hz. No, this is not a trick, not magic. It is science, it is physics, it is biology. The 432 Hz frequency has the ability to realign your nervous system, to soften the electromagnetic field you emit, to harmonize your being with the natural vibrations of the universe. It acts silently, dissolving resistance, calming the body, expanding the heart. And here, it is worth remembering what Joe Dispenza teaches us. When you cultivate a coherent emotional state, when your mind and your heart vibrate at the same frequency, your electromagnetic field expands exponentially. And then manifestation happens, not as a miracle outside of you, but as a natural consequence of who you have become within. This is not an empty promise. It is an invitation to return. A return to your essence, a return to your silent power, a return to the original frequency that dwells within you, and that is now inviting you to be heard, felt, lived. Breathe, feel. Are you ready to activate this frequency? Are you willing to dissolve the internal noise and finally manifest the abundance that has always been yours by natural right? This is the beginning of a 21-day journey, but more than that, it is the beginning of a new way of being in the world, of vibrating in the world, of co-creating your reality. Now, follow me. Let us together delve into the mysteries and truths that sustain the frequency of abundance. Many times what we most desire is, paradoxically, what we most repel. The desire for abundance pulses, throbs, burns within the chest, and yet it does not materialize. Have you ever wondered why? The root of this blockage is not external. It is not in the economy, in luck, nor in a lack of effort. It is deeply rooted in your biology, in your most subtle vibration, shaped by beliefs that you did not even consciously choose. These are invisible inheritances, passed down from generation to generation, embedded in your system as absolute truths. It is hard to make money. I don't deserve to be prosperous. Success is for others, not for me. Bruce Lipton reveals to us that these beliefs, often unconscious, act like automatic programs. They shape how you perceive the world, how you interpret every opportunity, every challenge. They regulate the expression of your genes, determining not only your health but also your ability to manifest abundance. It is not metaphorical, it is biological. Your cells respond to your beliefs. Your frequency adjusts to this silent programming. And so you desire, but your vibration denies it. You want to attract, but your energy repels it. Desire and vibration walk in opposite directions, creating an incoherent, fractured field that does not sustain the necessary magnetism for manifestation. There is also an almost imperceptible, yet extremely present movement, the unconscious pursuit of social validation through money. Without realizing it, often the desire for abundance mixes with the need to be seen, accepted, recognized. And in this entanglement, money ceases to be an expression of freedom and becomes a means to prove your worth. The result? Anxiety, self-sabotage, guilt, and even further detachment from the vibration of prosperity. And there is still a silent mistake, an almost universal misunderstanding, confusing obsessive focus with elevated intention. You believe that by thinking intensely about what you want, you will be closer to achieving it. But in practice, excessive focus creates emotional overload, tension, rigidity, and inevitably, energetic dysregulation. Elevated intention is born from relaxation, from trust, from surrender, not from obsession. When you force, when you become distressed, when you try to control the time and the way abundance must arrive, your vibration contracts and the natural flow of manifestation is interrupted. Perceive with delicacy and compassion. Perhaps what is preventing you from prospering is not a lack of desire, but a lack of vibrational coherence. It is not about wanting more. It is about being, feeling, vibrating differently. And this change does not begin outside, it begins within, in the silent space where your beliefs meet your biology, where your emotion regulates your frequency, where the invisible shapes the visible. Breathe and notice. You are beginning to see what has always been there, but that until now may have remained hidden. This is the invitation to transcend the invisible vibrational blockage and to walk gently toward the abundance that already belongs to you. Not everything that transforms is immediately understood by the logical mind. So it is with 402 Hz, a frequency that many hear but few truly feel. It is not just relaxing music, it is a vibrational field, a silent bridge between internal chaos and essential harmony. The 432 Hz resonates with the natural patterns of the universe. It is in tune with the heartbeat of the Earth, with the Schumann resonance, with the fundamental vibration of the planet itself. When you expose yourself to this frequency, something subtle happens. Your biology recognizes this harmony as someone who finds a long-forgotten home. Your body, your mind, your soul all slowly begin to realign, not because they were forced to, but because they deeply desire this natural state of balance. The autonomic nervous system, which so often remains on alert, dominated by anxiety and fear, finally finds a way to return to the parasympathetic state. And it is in this state that healing happens, that cortisol levels decrease, that breathing deepens, and above all, that your vibrational openness expands. But there is something that needs to be said with clarity and compassion. The frequency is not a standalone remedy. It is not enough to play a 432 Hz playlist and expect that magically your life will transform. That would be superficial, and you deserve more than superficial solutions. The frequency is support, not solution. It is fertile soil, but it is necessary to sow with presence, with awareness, with coherent intention. The common mistake, disseminated in so many spaces, is to use 432 Hz as emotional anesthesia, as background noise that momentarily soothes but does not provoke true transformation. The power of 422 Hz only manifests when you fully surrender to the process, when you allow the sound not only to pass through you, but to touch you, to penetrate your deepest layers, and then gently dissolve the vibrational resistances that time and pain have sedimented. The 432 Hz is like a quiet river. It does not force, it does not demand, it merely invites. It invites your emotional frequency to harmonize with the universe. It invites your heart to slow down. It invites your mind to quiet. It invites your soul to remember who you are beyond fear, doubt, and scarcity. And when this invitation is accepted, when you allow the frequency to become a daily practice, a conscious ritual, then yes, your vibration transforms, and with it, inevitably, your reality. Here we are not talking about magic, we are talking about biology, about physics, about vibrational coherence. We are talking about a forgotten but profoundly effective path, the path of sound as healing, of frequency as alignment, of 432 Hz as a silent portal to the abundance you so deeply seek. But when welcomed with honesty and tenderness, it transforms profoundly. It is not money that you want. What you truly want is to free yourself from the feeling of insufficiency, from the fear of not being seen, from the silent anguish of not being enough. Behind every desire for abundance, there is a deeper longing, the desire to be accepted, to be recognized, to be loved. In this context, money becomes merely a symbol, a promise that by possessing it, you will finally be considered worthy, relevant, safe. But this is a subtle trap, because what truly keeps you away from abundance is not the lack of money, but the identity prison built upon fear and rejection. As long as you remain trapped in this identity based on scarcity, on doubt, on the feeling of unworthiness, any attempt to manifest abundance will be unconsciously sabotaged, not due to a lack of capacity, but because your vibrational structure does not sustain the expansion that money represents. True change does not happen in the bank account. True change occurs at the core of your vibrational identity. It is about who you need to become internally to sustain and expand abundance, not just as a material resource, but as a state of being. It is not enough to visualize houses, cars, trips. It is not enough to repeat affirmations in front of the mirror. If, inside, your vibration still pulses with fear, still vibrates scarcity, still contracts at the possibility of prospering, then all effort will be exhausting, frustrating, and ineffective. Joe Dispenza teaches us that manifestation is a natural extension of the vibrational state you embody, not just of what you imagine or desire. You need to feel abundant before abundance manifests. You need to be, so you can then have. And perhaps this is the most radical breakthrough, realizing that insisting only on external visualization does not transform. The real work is internal, silent, daily. It is not about building an idealized image of success, but about undoing, layer by layer, the identity built on fear and limitation. This is the liberation you seek. It is not the money. It is the freedom to be who you are, without fear, without masks, without the permanent need to prove your worth through external achievements. When you free yourself from this vibrational prison, when your identity expands beyond fear, money, success, abundance, all of this becomes a natural, inevitable consequence, no longer a struggle, but a reflection of your new frequency. And then you will realize that what you always sought outside was already silently dwelling within you. You only needed to free yourself. You only needed to remember. You only needed to allow yourself to vibrate fully in your truth, but in how you relate to it. The 432 Hz is a living frequency, not a remedy to be taken mechanically, but a vibrational field with which you can establish a deep, intimate, and regenerative relationship. It all begins with a ritual of conscious listening. It is not enough to simply press play and let the sound fill the environment as background noise. It is essential that as you listen, you breathe, and as you breathe, you feel. Feel the sound passing through your body, dissolving resistances, softening tensions. Feel it reaching parts of you that perhaps have long been silenced, hidden, dormant. This moment is not about distraction, but about presence, about allowing yourself to be touched, not just by the tones, but by the vibration they awaken in every cell, in every space of your being. The second step is epigenetic affirmation. Words are not just sounds, they are vibrational commands. When aligned with the frequency of 432 Hz, they become powerful catalysts for reprogramming. It is at this moment that you begin to communicate new patterns of worthiness to your subconscious, new beliefs that dissolve the old scarcity programs. Affirmations such as, "I am worthy of the abundance that flows to me," or "My vibration is in harmony with the prosperity of the universe," when spoken with intention, emotion, and consistency, create a new internal environment. As Bruce Lipton teaches us, the environment is what shapes genetic expression. By changing the vibrational environment of your cells, you change your biology and, inevitably, your reality. And then comes the third step, somatic visualization. To visualize is not just to see mental images, it is to associate these images with real bodily sensations. When imagining yourself living the abundance you desire, allow your body to feel what it would be like to be in that state. Allow your heart to beat slightly faster with excitement, your muscles to relax in trust, your breathing to become deeper and calmer. This association between mind and body is what reinforces neuroplasticity, creating new neural circuits that sustain your new vibrational identity. Here, Bruce Lipton's science meets neural reprogramming practices. When you combine sound frequency, conscious affirmations, and somatic visualization, you create a coherent emotional experience. And it is this coherence that unlocks your field of quantum attraction. With regular practice, this triad becomes a silent yet deeply transformative ritual. You begin to notice small changes in how you feel, in how you react, in the opportunities that arise. Not in a spectacular or immediate way, but in an organic, natural, inevitable manner. This is not a technique to be done occasionally, but a path to be walked daily, with gentleness, with presence, with love. A path that not only brings you closer to abundance, but transforms you into the very vibrational field of abundance that you have always sought, but one that hasn't been tuned for years. Its strings are either loose or excessively tight, and no matter how skilled the violinist is, the music that comes from it sounds dissonant, harsh, disconnected from the harmony it could express. So too is the human being in relation to abundance, a vibrational instrument that, if not internally tuned, will inevitably emit confused and misaligned signals to the universe. You wish to play the symphony of abundance. You want your life to echo prosperity, fullness, fulfillment. But if inside your frequency is out of tune, the message you send to the quantum field is contradictory. Your intention says, "I want," but your vibration says, "I fear." Your mind projects scenarios of prosperity, but your body, impregnated by years of scarcity beliefs, vibrates insecurity and resistance. Just as a musician needs to adjust each string with precision, patience, and attentive listening, you too are invited to daily calibrate your emotional frequency. Not as someone who fixes something broken, but as someone who cares for a precious and delicate instrument, recognizing that its tuning is a continuous living process that requires presence and sensitivity. This metaphor is powerful because it reveals an essential truth. It is not enough to desire abundance. You must become someone who resonates with it. It is not enough to know the melody. Your internal instrument must be able to play it with beauty, clarity, and integrity. And this tuning does not happen only in great moments, but above all in the small ones, in daily choices, in the thoughts you cultivate upon waking, in the emotions you nourish throughout the day, in how you deal with fear, frustration, uncertainty. Each of these attitudes is like a fine adjustment that can bring you closer to or further from the vibrational harmony of abundance. When you understand this, you realize that abundance is not a prize to be won, but a frequency to be sustained. Not a destination, but a state of being. And the more tuned you are, the more naturally your life will begin to express the symphony you have always wanted to hear. This is the final insight. You are not an isolated, lost, disconnected note. You are the entire instrument, capable of vibrating, of resonating, of integrating into the great orchestra of life. And tuned with integrity and authenticity, your presence becomes music, and your music becomes magnetism, and magnetism inevitably manifests abundance. Perhaps you have realized that for so long, you sought outside what has always silently dwelled within you. True abundance was never an external promise, but a reflection of your ability to assume with gentleness and presence the active responsibility for tuning your own frequency. The power is not in excessive effort, nor in the obsession with control, but in the silent, consistent, almost imperceptible practice of cultivating new vibrational states, not as someone forcing themselves to be different, but as someone gently returning to their most authentic essence. Bruce Lipton reminds us that true transformation does not occur through the force of will, but through the loving repetition of coherent emotional experiences, which, little by little, biologically reprogram your identity. Your cells learn, your biology responds, your vibrational field reorganizes, and then what once seemed impossible begins to manifest with naturalness, with lightness, with integrity. And here at this meeting point between science and spirituality, between quantum physics and the poetry of the soul, Neville Goddard whispers one last reminder: sustained imagination, allied with aligned vibration, is the invisible matrix that shapes your concrete reality. It is not what you desire, but what you are, what you feel, what you vibrate, that creates. Therefore, do not wait for the external miracle. Do not wait for something or someone to come to you to finally bring the abundance you so seek. Become yourself the magnetic field that inevitably manifests this abundance, not as a prize, but as a natural reflection of your vibrational coherence. You are the conductor of this invisible orchestra, not the isolated note, not the lost sound, but the maestro, the one who, with each thought, each emotion, each choice, tunes their own instrument, and thus creates the melody of life they wish to experience. And now, perhaps only a silent invitation remains, that you proceed from here with the quiet certainty that abundance is not distant. It already vibrates within you, waiting only for you to remember, for you to trust, and for you, finally, to allow yourself to be.